April the 2nd, 2026. 5:14 in the morning, in the Gulf of Aden. The sea was tranquil. The sun had barely touched the horizon. Then, without warning, it all changed. Over a dozen fast skiffs broke from the shadows, cutting across the water with military precision. They weren't lone pirates chasing quick ransom. These were coordinated, armed units, and they were coming fast, closing in on Monarch of the Seas, a U.S.-flagged cruise liner with more than 2,100 civilians aboard. Gunfire erupted. Smoke flares deployed. Within seconds, multiple groups breached the ship's lower decks. For nearly 7 minutes, panic rippled through the vessel. Passengers were rushed to panic rooms. Crew members secured hatches. But the attackers were relentless. Then, through the chaos, the unmistakable silhouette of a U.S. Navy destroyer appeared on the horizon. USS Gravely, Arleigh Burke class, fully locked, fully ready. The question is, what happened in the next 19 minutes that flipped the script completely? If you value real defense analysis in an uncertain world, subscribe, like, and let your thoughts be heard. This is more than a story, it's a lesson in power, speed, and precision. April the 2nd, 2026, 5:14 in the morning. In the Gulf of Aden, a distress signal from the cruise ship Monarch of the Seas was picked up through the Global Maritime Distress and Safety System. The vessel was sailing in international waters roughly 19.6 nautical miles southeast of Socotra Island, inside the officially designated high-risk area for maritime piracy. At that moment, USS Gravely, hull number DDG-107, an Arleigh Burke class guided missile destroyer, was operating under Combined Task Force 151, a multinational naval group led by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, with a focus on counter-piracy operations. 5:15 in the morning. Gravely's AN/SPY-1 DV phased array radar system, part of the Aegis combat system, detected multiple high-speed surface contacts moving in a tight, coordinated pattern toward the cruise ship. These were fast skiffs, open motorboats commonly used by pirate groups in the region. Their maneuver resembled classic wolfpack tactics, likely launched from a mother vessel beyond the radar horizon. 5:16 in the morning. The destroyer initiated General Quarters, the U.S. Navy's designation for full combat readiness. All crew stations were manned, and Gravely increased speed to 28 knots, altering course directly toward the cruise ship's coordinates approximately 14 nautical miles away. 5:18 in the morning. Aboard the destroyer, the flight deck launched an MH-60R Seahawk helicopter from Helicopter Maritime Strike Squadron 7-4. The Seahawk was equipped with electro-optical sensors, forward-looking infrared imaging, and an M240 medium machine gun mounted at the door for observation and deterrence. From an altitude of 1,500 feet, the Seahawk identified 6 fast skiffs within 200 meters of Monarch of the Seas, some of which had already begun boarding attempts on the starboard lower deck using ropes and ladders. 5:20 in the morning. USS Gravely deployed non-lethal deterrent systems, including the long-range acoustic device, LRAD, to issue high-decibel warnings and crowd control pulses toward the pirate vessels. Naval personnel manned crew-served weapons, including 12.7mm 50 caliber, machine guns and the 25mm Mach 38 Mod 2 autocannon, but no live rounds were yet fired due to the close proximity of civilians. 5:22 in the morning. A trained visit, board, search, and seizure. VBSS team, composed of United States Navy sailors, launched from Gravely, using 2 11-meter rigid-hull inflatable boats. Their approach vector came from the cruise ship's blind starboard rear quarter to reduce detection by pirate lookouts. 5:24 in the morning. The Seahawk identified a 7th skiff stationed roughly 2.5 nautical miles from the scene. This vessel remained stationary, likely acting as a logistics or reserve unit. Gravely transmitted this information to regional partners via encrypted satellite communications. 5:26 in the morning. The VBSS team boarded the cruise ship using grappling ladders and non-lethal suppression gear such as tear gas, flashbang grenades, and non-penetrative rubber projectiles. Their objective was not destruction but swift incapacitation and containment. 5:30 in the morning. One fleeing skiff attempted escape but was disabled by the Seahawk's door gunner, who fired controlled bursts into the vessel's engine block, bringing it to a halt without endangering its occupants. 5:33 in the morning. All pirates aboard the cruise ship had been secured. 17 individuals were detained. No civilians were injured. No United States personnel sustained harm. The remaining attackers scattered into open waters and were tracked by Allied patrol vessels. This entire operation, from first contact to full containment, lasted just 19 minutes. The rescue of Monarch of the Seas was not merely a demonstration of speed and coordination, it was a textbook execution of layered defense, maritime strategy, and precision warfare, all orchestrated by the United States Navy using real-world doctrines and technologies. At the center of the response was USS Gravely, a guided missile destroyer of the Arleigh Burke class. This warship is outfitted with the Aegis Combat System, one of the most advanced maritime battle management networks in existence. It integrates radar, weapons control, and fire direction into a unified operational picture. When Gravely detected multiple fast-moving surface contacts closing on the cruise ship, its AN/SPY-1DV radar immediately tracked their trajectory and speed. These radar arrays, mounted high on the superstructure, scan the horizon continuously and can simultaneously monitor over 100 contacts, making them ideal for chaotic, multi-target environment like piracy swarms. While rules of engagement required restraint due to civilian proximity, the destroyer immediately activated its non-lethal deterrent systems. These included directional acoustic disruption devices capable of projecting focused sound at high decibel levels to disorient and repel threats without firing a single round. This is part of the Navy's graduated response protocol designed to de-escalate where possible. Gravely's crew also manned its twin-mounted heavy machine guns, chambered in 12.7 millimeters and positioned on both sides of the ship's superstructure. Alongside them, the 25mm Mark 38 Mod 2 automatic cannons, gyro-stabilized and remotely operated, were brought online for potential engagement. These weapons are optimized for disabling small, fast-moving vessels without risking over-penetration or collateral damage. Supporting this effort from above was the MH-60R Seahawk helicopter, deployed from Gravely's flight deck. Equipped with high-resolution electro-optical sensors, infrared imaging, and a medium-caliber door-mounted machine gun, the Seahawk provided aerial overwatch, scanned for additional threats beyond visual range, and maintained continuous surveillance over the situation. Perhaps the most decisive asset was the boarding and seizure team, trained for visit, board, search, and secure operations. These sailors are experts in maritime interdiction, and they deployed via 2 rigid-hull inflatable boats, each 11 meters in length, approaching the cruise ship from its blind sector. Their objective was to board the vessel, neutralize threats without endangering civilians, and restore control. These teams carried non-lethal weaponry, including electroshock devices, tear gas canisters, and distraction grenades tools designed to subdue armed attackers with minimum force. Their speed and coordination ensured that multiple hostile actors were apprehended before they could retreat or harm passengers. In the event of escalation, USS Gravely's 5-inch Mark 45 naval gun stood ready to engage retreating skiffs. However, thanks to aerial support from the Seahawk and the fast response of the boarding teams, the gun never had to fire. The engagement was resolved with 0 casualties and no lethal weapons used, proving that in modern naval warfare, information dominance, layered defense, and restraint can neutralize even coordinated threats without triggering full-scale combat. If you're someone who believes that national security is built not just on firepower but on readiness, coordination, and principle, consider subscribing. Your interest helps keep these real-world simulations in the public conversation where they belong. April the 2nd, 2026. In the Gulf of Aden. The timeline of events that morning reveals a precision choreography forged from doctrine, drilled execution, and split-second command decisions. What could have escalated into a mass hostage crisis was dismantled, phase by phase, with a tactical discipline honed over decades of naval operations. 5:14 in the morning. Distress call received. The cruise ship Monarch of the Seas issued an emergency broadcast through the Global Maritime Distress and Safety System. It was intercepted within seconds by both regional coordination centers and the nearby destroyer, USS Gravely, on patrol, as part of a North Atlantic Treaty Organization counter-piracy task force. 5:15 in the morning. Radar detection and threat classification. The ship's radar systems identified at least 6 high-speed skiffs approaching in a semi-coordinated formation. Gravely's Combat Information Center, working under the Aegis Combat System, flagged the contacts as probable piracy elements. Distance to the cruise ship: 14 nautical miles. From 5:16 to 5:18 in the morning. Flank speed and airborne reconnaissance. Gravely increased to maximum sustainable speed just under 30 knots and altered heading toward the distress signal. An MH-60R Seahawk helicopter was launched from the flight deck. From 1,500 feet, the crew visually confirmed pirates boarding the cruise ship's lower decks using grappling ladders. From 5:19 to 5:21 in the morning. Escalation of threat. The Seahawk identified gunfire on the foredeck and confirmed hostiles aboard. Gravely deployed its long-range acoustic device to issue non-lethal warnings. Armed personnel on deck manned heavy machine guns and tracked the skiffs but withheld fire, following strict engagement protocols due to civilian proximity. 5:22 in the morning. VBSS team deployment. The destroyer launched 2 rigid hull inflatable boats, each carrying a 5-person visit, board, search, and seizure team. Their goal: intercept and retake key sections of the cruise ship while minimizing collateral risk. From 5:24 to 5:27 in the morning. Shipboard engagement begins. The boarding team scaled the hull using climbing gear, breached entry points on decks 2 and 3, and deployed non-lethal munitions, stun grenades, tear gas, and electroshock tools to disorient and subdue the intruders. At least 4 armed attackers were restrained within the first 3 minutes. 5:28 in the morning. Pirate retreat begins. With the boarding effort disrupted and the United States Navy response fully active, remaining pirate skiffs began to retreat. One was intercepted by the Seahawk, which disabled its engine with precision gunfire into the motor housing, halting its escape without loss of life. 5:33 in the morning. Ship secured. By this time, the cruise ship was declared secure. 17 individuals had been detained, multiple weapons confiscated, and control restored, all in under 20 minutes. No civilian injuries. No American casualties. The turning point in the engagement came not from overwhelming firepower but from the ability to escalate with control. Tactics shifted from observation to deterrence to surgical intervention with full air, sea, and boarding coordination. It was a near-flawless exercise in proportional force application under extreme pressure. If you're tracking how layered strategy, not just raw power, wins the day, make sure to follow this channel. The real battlefield is built on timing, trust, and technical edge, and we break it all down right here. By 5:35 in the morning, the situation appeared to be fully resolved. The cruise ship was secured. Pirate boats had either fled or been intercepted. United States Navy forces remained on high alert, but the battle seemed over. And then, something unexpected happened. From the eastern horizon, over 20 nautical miles away, a slow-moving fishing trawler previously dismissed as non-threatening suddenly changed course. Within seconds, electronic warfare officers aboard USS Gravely detected a spike in radio emissions and an encrypted data burst transmitted from the vessel. This wasn't a fishing boat. It was a mobile command node, outfitted with advanced communications gear. Analysts now believe it had coordinated the attack remotely, acting as the central relay between the pirate teams and possibly even a foreign intelligence service posing as a commercial entity. The twist deepened. As Gravely locked sensors on the trawler, Its electronic profile vanished, shut down instantly, as if anticipating targeting. The trawler turned south at full throttle, heading for Yemeni coastal waters. Rules of engagement prevented pursuit across territorial boundaries without diplomatic clearance. But the message was clear. This was not a spontaneous act of piracy. It was a test probing response time, electronic signature tracking, and layered defense integration. The United States Navy didn't just stop a pirate assault. It may have exposed a covert network testing Western maritime defenses under the cover of piracy. That changes everything. Because in modern conflict, the real threat often doesn't carry a rifle. It rides on silence, deception, and remote signals. What else was gathered that morning? What intelligence did the Aegis system log from that data burst? And more importantly, who was listening? Moments like these remind us, not every battle ends when the shooting stops. The incident in the Gulf of Aden was not just a tactical victory. It was a strategic benchmark, a case study in how the United States Navy projects stability in uncertain waters and exposes threats that go far beyond what meets the eye. On the surface, the rescue of Monarch of the Seas was a textbook operation. But at a deeper level, it revealed three crucial realities. First, the rapid integration of air, sea, and boarding forces demonstrated how joint doctrine refined over decades translates into real-time advantage. From the moment radar contact was established to the final boarding action, each layer of response was synchronized and scalable. That's not luck, it's design. Second, the use of non-lethal force, rather than overwhelming firepower, sends a strategic message. That the United States does not escalate recklessly, it responds with discipline. That precision helps preserve civilian safety, mission credibility, and diplomatic latitude. Third, the twist a disguised command vessel likely used as a coordination hub raises serious questions about the nature of modern threats. Piracy, in this case, was likely just a mask. And that means naval commanders must treat every asymmetric scenario as a potential hybrid operation. Part criminal, part covert, part geopolitical. The consequences of this incident go beyond the Horn of Africa. They reinforce the United States' role as not just a maritime superpower, but as a custodian of international sea lanes, especially in choke points where instability could ripple globally. For allies, it's reassurance. For adversaries, it's a reminder that America's reach, readiness, and restraint are not relics of the past. They are current, real, and evolving. 19 minutes. That's all it took. From the moment the first pirate boat was spotted on radar to the final sweep by United States Navy boarding teams, the threat was contained. No civilians harmed, no American lives lost. No shots fired in aggression. But the true victory wasn't just tactical. It was philosophical. This engagement proved what many forget. That strength does not always mean destruction. That power, when guided by principle, is not something to fear, but something that protects. USS Gravely didn't just defend a cruise ship. It defended the idea that international waters must remain open, that civilian life is sacred, and that American naval presence is not about intimidation, it's about stability. And yet, behind the smoke and adrenaline, another truth emerged. The fishing trawler that wasn't a fishing trawler. The encrypted signal that vanished into silence. The realization that piracy, in this case, might have been a rehearsal for something far larger. That's the world we live in now, where war doesn't always wear a uniform, where hostile intent can hide behind a civilian hull or in a line of code, and where readiness is not just about weapons, but about intelligence, timing, and will. This was a win, but it was also a warning, because peace doesn't maintain itself. It demands vigilance, it demands presence, and sometimes it demands the quiet but unshakable resolve of sailors who rise in the dark to protect people they will never meet. Strength deters chaos. And when that strength is guided by discipline, the world becomes safer one mission at a time. If stories like this matter to you, if you believe in the importance of readiness, clarity, and calm power, then stay with us. Subscribe, share, and stay alert. Because what happens on the sea echoes far beyond it.